I think part of this too is you have to be comfortable to get into areas of discomfort. We all have our own lived experiences, we all have our own backgrounds, but I think to fully immerse yourself and really understand and hopefully get rid of your own biases. So I think a tool to do that is really kind of push yourself in these areas of discomfort and try to seek more understanding and connection with those that have different backgrounds as you, because I think that is really what builds your ability to both label and acknowledge times when you are being biased, but as well as create tools to hopefully mitigate that when you are feeling that.
Welcome to Medication Talk, the official podcast of TRC Healthcare, home of Pharmacist Letter, Prescriber Insights, RX Advanced, and the most trusted clinical resources. On today's episode, we'll listen in as our panelists review cultural differences and how biases can lead to disparities in healthcare. Our guest today is Dr. Stephen Carek from the USC School of Medicine, Greenville. This podcast is an excerpt from one of TRC's monthly live CE webinars. Each month, experts and frontline providers discuss and debate challenges in practice, evidence-based practice recommendations, and other topics relevant to our subscribers. The full webinar originally aired on September 19, 2024.
And now, the CE information.
This podcast offers continuing education credit for pharmacists, physicians, and nurses. Please log into your Pharmacist Letter or Prescriber Insights account and look for the title of this podcast in the list of available CE courses. None of the speakers have anything to disclose. Now, let's join TRC editor, Dr. Sarah Clockers, and start our discussion.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, by the year 2044, the United States is expected to become a majority-minority nation, meaning that more than half of the population will consist of racial and ethnic minorities. Unfortunately, we already know that health disparities exist across different groups. Implicit bias can play a significant role in the quality of healthcare that patients from marginalized communities receive, since these patients often face more obstacles when seeking care and tend to have worse health outcomes compared to their non-minority counterparts. So to truly address these disparities, we need to actively expand our understanding of the differences between ourselves and our patients. Cultural competence involves developing the ability to respect and respond to the cultural needs of our patients. And by enhancing our cultural competence, we can create a more inclusive and supportive environment for our patients, but strengthens the trust and relationships we build with patients. So, Stephen, are there any specific strategies you've found useful in your practice or with your team to help increase cultural competence?
Yes, talking about implicit bias training, simulation. I think simulation and practicing this with your team is really important. If we don't work on this in a safe environment, I think that it helps us create our own tools, helps us prepare, helps us understand, just the right words to use, right terminology to use, and how to also use the nonverbal skills so that we can make sure that we are approaching our patients again in that unbiased and hopefully patient-centered way that we can be advocates for them and meet their needs. I think the other two is also a lot of reflection. I mentioned we'll still make mistakes, but learning from those mistakes, being open-minded, reflecting on those opportunities, talking with someone about them is also a great. And so having resources, individuals within your team who are champions for this. Like within our program, we have champions on DEI, and being able to talk through these scenarios with them and understand what we can do better, maintaining that growth mindset has really been helpful for our team in trying to help move everyone forward and provide equitable, high-level care.
Great, thank you. As we know, patients come from a variety of cultural backgrounds, each with its own set of beliefs, values, and practices. And just taking the time to learn about cultural norms and health-related beliefs of the communities we serve can really enhance the care we provide. And this can be done through direct interaction, education, immersion in cultural activities. The more we know about different cultural groups, the better equipped we are to provide care. Culturally competent care is patient-centered care, and this means tailoring our approach to meet the individual needs and preferences of each patient. By involving patients in their care decisions and respecting their autonomy, we can offer treatment options that align with their cultural values and result in better health outcomes. And one way to identify cultural considerations is by asking those open-ended questions about their health. And this might just provide valuable insights into their culture or their beliefs. What do you think has caused your problem? This question might help you uncover the patient's understanding or potentially the beliefs about their condition. Why do you think this problem started when it did? So, just by exploring their thoughts on the timing, that might reveal some personal beliefs. What do you think this illness does to you? How does it work? These questions might provide insight to how the patient perceives the impact of the illness on their body or their overall health. So, these are some questions we can ask that may give us some insight into their culture and health beliefs. So, Stephen, can you share some specific questions that you ask patients to really dig in and understand their needs and their care preferences to help tailor care for that patient?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and things that come to mind when I'm having patients with that. I think a lot of it's like, what are your healthcare goals? If you are having to make a difficult decision, who are the people that you lean on? Who are the people that you rely on? A lot of it is, some of it is built in the past, especially if you have continuity with these patients, just understanding what are their belief systems in terms of their faith background, their support system, their education level. Building the relationships over time with these patients really can give you some understanding. But I think at the end of the day, it's really understanding what are their goals, what influences that decision for their goals, what support do they have to achieve those goals, and then how as I as a provider help them in that journey and help them meet those goals.
Great, thank you. Finding out patients' needs and care preferences can be challenging, but let's go ahead and shift gears and talk about some specific patient needs that we can help address. Identifying a patient's preferred language is important for providing culturally competent care. In the US, about 1 out of 5 people speaks a language other than English at home. And if we don't know that a patient prefers a language other than English, then we may not be able to accurately identify the patient's problem or concern, make sure the patient understands explanations, or help the patient with basic medication needs. Patients may know several languages, but maybe they prefer and have a higher health literacy in one language over the other when discussing their health care. There's some very helpful tools out there, such as the language identification flashcard from the US Bureau of the Census. And this card allows patients to tick a box next to a statement in one of the 38 languages. And it does say, mark this box if you read or speak Croatian, French. So it allows you to check the box, and then you're able to tell what language the patient prefers. And it's very important to document this in the patient profile or the medical record. And as we know, there are many language resources available to support the patient's preferred language. We have our organization's interpreter services, our computers. Many have the capability to translate to certain languages. And there are many other resources out there. Some of them include Medline Plus. So this offers a library of health information in various languages. So you can access a list of health topics with content in Chinese, Spanish, Vietnamese, and many more. We also have the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, or AHRQ, has a list of standard and simple medication instructions that might be helpful in your practice. And this is simply how to say, take 2 tablets twice a day in different languages. So it's a great resource. It's available in Chinese, Korean, Russian, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And then there's also the USP Pictogram Library, which offers a simple way to use standardized images to communicate medication instructions, precautions, or warnings to patients. And they're free for healthcare professionals to use and make it easier to reinforce important information. It is also very helpful to understand a patient's cultural beliefs. And as we touched on earlier, these may be shaped by and intertwined with many factors: religion, race, ethnicity, age, gender. All of these factors can impact healthcare. So, for example, a person's culture may affect how a patient feels about Western medicine or traditional remedies, or their comfort level of having and speaking openly with a healthcare provider of the opposite gender. So it's important to consider that unintentional disrespect or an unwillingness to acknowledge and appreciate cultural differences may hinder communication with patients of very diverse backgrounds. It's easy for misunderstandings to unintentionally come up if a patient has a different culture or language from you. So just accepting these differences without being judgmental is super helpful. So we're going to cover a few common differences that we can consider in our practices. Gender roles may be defined by a patient's culture. So consider whether you are the opposite gender of the patient and how that might affect their interactions with you. So in some cultures, care is only provided by healthcare professionals of the same gender. Certain topics, such as those related to sex or bodily function, might even be taboo when discussed with patients of the opposite gender. Physical contact between genders may also need to be avoided. In some cases, patients may be less trusting if health information is provided by someone of the opposite gender. So these are just considerations to keep in mind. Providing gender diverse care is also important, since more than 1.6 million people in the US identify as transgender or gender diverse. And that means having a gender identity or expression that is different from the sex assigned to them at birth. And we just want to avoid making assumptions and also consider each patient's unique needs. For example, a transgender male, a person assigned female at birth who identifies as a male, may still have a uterus and require contraception. A transgender female likely has a prostate and could develop prostatitis. We can also ask patients about the pronouns they prefer and document preferences in their profile. Or perhaps it's better to use the patient's name instead of assuming pronouns in some circumstances. And also, it's super important. If you make a mistake, apologize. We all mess up, and it's important for us to be open and honest with patients. Many spiritual or religious practices and beliefs can impact a patient's health as well. So, for example, due to their religious beliefs, some patients may oppose the use of vaccinations or contraception, animal-derived products, or blood products. Some cultures may believe that discussing an illness can cause it, while others may believe that an equilibrium between the person's body and the environment is responsible for their health. So these are just some examples of the wide range of beliefs patients may have about their health. If you have a significant number of patients in your practice with a culture or religion different from your own, maybe consider researching and exploring it a bit. Reach out to a local community leader, find out how their beliefs may impact their health care, and then share what you find with your coworkers to help increase everyone's awareness. Stephen, did you want to share one of your experiences and how it impacted you?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many that it's hard for me to just pick one. I think the ones that are most memorable for me are the ones that I sort of entered an area that I was most uncomfortable with, but then had the experience with the patient and just emerged with just a completely different understanding. And I think some of these examples are like in hospitals. I think it's taking care of patients who, or at least one specific patient in their family who were of a different faith belief than I was. They were Islamic, and I come from a Christian background. And so working with a family during an end of life period with a patient, and them including us in some prayer and in some celebration for this family was, for me, a new experience. You know, you kind of enter that feeling a little uncomfortable, not knowing what to expect, but then you kind of emerge from it after participating and being part of such I think a very important and a very sacred event with them was really, really meaningful to me. It was something that was really powerful. And I think part of this too is you have to be comfortable to get into areas of uncomfort and discomfort. We all have our own lived experiences. We all have our own backgrounds, but I think to fully immerse yourself and really understand and hopefully get rid of your own biases. So I think a tool to do that is really kind of push yourself in these areas of discomfort and try to seek more understanding and connection with those that have different backgrounds as you, because I think that is really what builds your ability to both label and acknowledge times when you are being biased, but as well as create tools to hopefully mitigate that when you are feeling that.
Thank you. By listening carefully to patients, you may discover that some patients prefer to use an alternative or herbal product. We want to be sure to ask patients for all prescription meds, OTCs, vitamins, and supplements they're taking when we're updating patient profiles or med lists, and this may help identify patients who prefer natural medicines. We can also acknowledge that these alternative therapies, and if appropriate, help patients understand how they fit into their overall therapy. So, for example, some alternative or natural medicines may interact with the patient's prescription drugs or with their diseases. Others may not have much evidence to support their use, but may not be harmful. So, Stephen, I want to pause here. Can you share an example of a discussion you've had with a patient who preferred natural medicines over other recommended therapies and how that discussion went?
That's a very good question, and see this a lot. You see this a whole lot, especially with the prevalence of social media and people out there telling people to do all sorts of things. And I think there's kind of two trains of thought, right? There's going to be the thoughts of, I think people will attempt to do their research and understand what is going to be a safe alternative for me that's not part of maybe the traditional pharmaceutical route in terms of management. And then there's going to be those that may have sort of this outlandish idea of what may be beneficial for them, and you worry that that could potentially cause harm for them. So I think part of us is, be curious, why do they want to use that? I think the other thing sometimes I do a lot is I just am honest with them. I don't know a whole lot about this. I really don't, but I want to do some research with you right now so I can understand how this may impact your health. And I typically also add what you want to use is not well studied. It is not FDA approved. There are certain agencies that really, really take a lot of time to understand if this is something that can be safe with using this for patients. This is not part of that. And so I just want you to know, I can't anticipate every outcome that may come with this, but my goal with you is to make sure that you're being prescribed medications or products that are safe for you, that I hope will help you kind of achieve your health goals, whatever the purpose of this medicine may be. Sometimes there's instances where there may be a disagreement, and that's okay. You just acknowledge, I may not agree with this. And again, sort of same thing, I care about the patient. I care what's you. I would not recommend this for you. I would sort of give them what my sort of understanding what may be a better alternative for them, present that to them, and allow them to make the decision. But if they make a decision that's I don't necessarily agree with, I can accept that. And again, my goal is to make sure they're doing so safely. So if there's any additional follow-up labs or additional conversations that we have, we can go forward from there. But always letting the patient too know that I want to help them, I want to support them. And again, if we disagree, that's okay. My goal is always to make sure that the patient is safe. And I don't want to prescribe or utilize any therapies that I think are going to be harmful for the patient. And so I just have to be very honest with them in that.
Thanks for sharing. And yes, safety is key as more and more patients are using natural medicines. Another consideration that may impact a patient's healthcare is family involvement. Have the patient identify whether any family members should be involved in the discussions. For example, some cultures put an emphasis on the importance of family, including extended family like friends or neighbors. And the extended family may play a role in the patient's healthcare and decision-making. So it may be just as important to work with the family member to get their buy-in for healthcare decisions. Also, some cultures prefer health information to be shared with the family rather than the patient. So, for example, it may be expected that news of a terminal illness will be told to the family, not to the patient in certain cultures. So be sure to ask about the patient's preferences when it comes to involving family members in the decision-making process. Cultural or personal beliefs can also impact the dietary needs of patients, which can affect their medication use. One example is patients who fast for common religious observances, and this can be very important to consider in patients with diabetes. Patients with diabetes who choose to fast must know how to adjust their medications to avoid their blood sugars from going too high or too low. The care team should work together with patients to determine how to best adjust medicines if necessary during fasting. Vegetarians, vegans, and individuals who follow certain religious beliefs may also have specific dietary restrictions that avoid animal-sourced ingredients. So, for example, some people avoid pork due to religious or personal beliefs. Gelatin, which is often used to make capsules, some tablets, and even vaccines, can be a concern for those with these dietary preferences or restrictions, since gelatin can come from pigs or cows. So we must be mindful that some prescription and OTC meds, as well as supplements, may contain animal-derived ingredients, which could be problematic for some patients. So, for instance, calcium can come from oyster shells, chondroitin from bovine cartilage, and glucosamine from shellfish. A few other examples include armour thyroid, which comes from desiccated pig thyroid, or enoxaparin, which comes from pig intestine. We also have Premarin from pregnant mare's urine, and then some flu vaccines are grown in chicken eggs. So just be sure to document details about patient preferences and their profiles so products with ingredients from animals can be avoided if needed. We can also help patients identify the source of the ingredients. We can definitely reach out to the manufacturer to help patients if information isn't available in the labeling. We might even be able to work with prescribers to change medicines. For example, sometimes a gelatin capsule can be switched to a tablet, or the patient may be okay with emptying the contents from a capsule or possibly switching to a liquid formulation. And then there's always the option of just switching to other medications altogether that are in a different dosage form. We've reviewed so much we can do to provide culturally competent care, and there are many helpful tools out there to help us. And we all know that cultural competency isn't a box we check off. It's a skill we continuously develop throughout our careers. Cultural competency is an ongoing, lifelong process and is not something you either do or don't have. So as healthcare professionals, we need to stay open to learning, adapting, and improving our understanding of the diverse cultures we encounter daily in our practices. By committing to this process, we can provide more inclusive and effective care for all of our patients.
We hope you enjoyed and gained practical insights from listening into this discussion. Now that you've listened, pharmacists, physicians, and nurses can receive CE credit. Just log into your Pharmacist letter or Prescriber Insights account and look for the title of this podcast in the list of available CE courses. On those websites, you'll also be able to access and print out additional materials on this topic, like charts and other quick reference tools. If you're not yet a subscriber, find out more about our other product offerings at trchealthcare.com. Be sure to follow or subscribe, rate, and review this show in your favorite podcast app. Or find the show on YouTube by searching for TRC Healthcare or clicking the link in the show notes. You can also reach out to provide feedback or make suggestions by emailing us at contactus@trchealthcare.com. Thanks for listening to Medication Talk.